Resourcing tomorrow captures really well the challenge that the mining industry faces, and everybody connected to it. But I would argue that the word tomorrow should be plural, tomorrows. And what I mean by that is that the future looks very different depending on which seat you sit in. And there are 5 key stakeholder groups that I believe need to see themselves in the tomorrow of the mining industry for us to truly move forward as one. Investors, governments, workers, mining companies, and communities around mining operations. If we can find a way to build a mining industry that serves the needs and interests of each of these 5 groups, then we will be successful in not just providing the resources that the world's future economy depends on, but the way that we produce those resources will add significant value to each of the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is why I personally am so committed to helping build the future of the global mining industry, because we have seen time and time again that when done well, mining is a powerful force of both social and economic development. And not only can it be done in an environmentally benign way, but in fact, it can be positive for many aspects of our natural environment. I also want to be very clear that mining carries risks. It carries risks for people and the planet. And that is why we have a responsibility, especially because the world is looking to us to provide the metals and minerals that are so critical to the energy transition. We have an added responsibility to operate at all times with the greatest care and respect for the people that we affect and the environment in which we operate. Here, I think Saudi Arabia has an incredibly exciting opportunity to lead the global mining industry into a more sustainable future. Because to overcome the challenges of the past that have seen the mining industry struggle with achieving and maintaining a social license to operate will require bold leadership and ambition. And the region, led by Saudi Arabia, is used to doing things that are big in scale and that have high ambition at its core. And so I really look forward to the kingdom demonstrating leadership on issues of responsible and sustainable mining that will ensure that not only will the mining industry be a powerful force for development in Saudi Arabia and the region, but actually can set ever higher and newer benchmarks for how the whole industry operates on key aspects of environment, social, and governance issues. I take just one example which aligns very well to the priorities of the kingdom, which is not just the extraction of the mineral, but the entire supply chain that goes with it. And if I look at our upstream supply chain and I think about the potential for our industry to work with the suppliers of equipment to decarbonize the way we mine, I believe that the kingdom can play a fundamentally important role in accelerating the rollout of decarbonization technologies such as zero-emission haul trucks. The other benefit of the kingdom taking a more active stance in the mining industry is that you have a range of downstream industries that are connected to the kingdom, things like fertilizer or metal production. And we know that not only is it important to reduce emissions and impact from the mining operation, but through the life of that metal, all the way through from its extraction through to its final use. And there are few countries that have the depth of the supply chain as Saudi Arabia does. And once again, that presents an opportunity, and I would say an obligation, to make sure that in sitting at such a vital juncture, that we take that opportunity with both hands and we use it to fundamentally chart a new, more sustainable course for the global mining industry. It is my fundamental belief that although the minerals we produce are critical, we must produce them as if they were not. What I mean by that is that although the world really depends on the uses that metals provide, such as in renewable energy technologies and electric vehicles, the care we must take in producing them must be to the same level as if the actual product had no use. That is the kind of commitment that we as ICMM make in our mining principles to give everybody the confidence that we will not sacrifice the interests of people or the planet in the search for these critical minerals. And that is a commitment and a shared compact with society that our industry needs to make in order to create a future in which not only are the metals and minerals we produce incredibly important to the technologies of the future, but the process of producing them generates positive value for society. One key element, which, if I'm honest, our industry has not performed very well on so far, has been the level of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our industry. That includes the participation of women in the workforce, which remains chronically low across our industry, but it is also inclusive of issues of the representation of ethnic minority people, of the psychological safety that's created in the industry for people of all walks of life to do their best work, and of course, a complete non-negotiable arrangement of psychological and physical safety that must exist in mining workplaces everywhere. Now, we might say, how can mining achieve this when our societies are riddled with discrimination, with bullying, with sexual assault, and harassment of various forms? And to that, I would say that we as an industry have a responsibility and an opportunity to override those tendencies in society. We should not take for granted that these ills that exist in society are the ills that we need to absorb and live with. In fact, truly, given the scale of our operations, given the importance of our sector to economies, it behooves us to take active steps in order to improve the level of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our industry, and that way actually be a positive agent of change in broader society. I'm also really passionate about how working together, governments, the mining industry, investors, communities, and labor groups can create a pathway for critical mineral extraction that benefits everybody. And I'm really encouraged that governments, including from the Kingdom, have lent their weight and their voice to the fact that this industry is now incredibly strategic to the goals that national countries and regions have for themselves. But it can't stop there, because although it's really helpful to have the support from nations about how mining is critical, it needs to go beyond to remove the roadblocks to implementing mining projects quickly but safely at all times, respecting the rights and interests of everybody affected by mining. But if we don't take active steps to make sure that the intent of governments to bring more critical minerals on stream is translated on the ground to an environment that is conducive to responsible mining projects, then it will remain an ambition only and supply will not materialize. But if we find ways to create platforms like the Future Minerals Forum, which brings together people from different parts of society to align on an attitude and an approach to mining that puts sustainability and responsibility at its heart, then I'm confident that working together we can create a future mining industry that not only supplies critical minerals in the use of those products, but does so in a way that drastically improves society.